here in
They
the
had
water
quite a lot of
conference at
influence
Baltic Sea.
back in time,
Okay.
and
River
these
rejuvenation.
buildings are today.
Okay. Under which organization, Vinita?
These buildings
This is UN Water Conference and also one organization which is based at Stockholm. You know that, Ashutosh Tiwari. We met in COP.
on the left, which is
last year.
Yeah.
And now you can see the church, and you have the tombs.
So
of kings
all
and
the best,
queens
and
in
all the
church.
best for
So
today. I'll
today
see
you
the
see-
recording afterwards.
Okay, great. You enjoy yourself. No problem.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
we come by here.
Hi, Jean-Paul.
Yes, ma'am. Very good afternoon. We will wait for the participants to join.
Yeah.
Just a quick check that is my sound clearly audible?
Yeah, audible. And Mansi, I would like to share a PPT. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Before that, I would like to introduction to our global women.
So Mansi, before we do that, should I send it across to you or should I share it myself?
Ma'am, the multiple sharing option has been on. So you can share with ma'am.
You can what? What, Mansi?
Mansi, unmute yourself. You're not audible.
Yes, ma'am. Is my voice clearly audible?
No, it's echoing also, Mansi.
Yeah, it's echoing. Just a minute, ma'am. I'll just check. Ma'am, is the sound clearly audible now?
Yeah, now it's okay, Mansi.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry for the
No
inconvenience.
issues. Yeah.
So, yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ansi Randri. Welcome all the members to Global Women Network Nature's monthly meeting. And a warm welcome to our today's guest, Jyotsna Beliappa, ma'am. Yes. Ma'am is a leading social impact expert in ESG and sustainability standards and a founder of Blue Sky Sustainable Business LLP. So, in today's meeting embarks on a journey into our topic, environment and social responsibility, two faces of the same coin, which will be present by our today's guest, Jyotsna Beliappa ma'am. Moving ahead, I would like to introduce our guest for today. Ma'am is a certified independent director and an IICA certified ESG professional and IICA certified human rights professional and an Austrian Standard Institute certified expert on ISO 26000 guidance on social responsibility. Ma'am has effectively managed sustainability risk for transitional retailers like Marks and Spencer, PLC, and the Gap. She has established herself as a preeminent authority on national and international sustainability standards, particularly in the realms of ISO 26000, guidance on responsibility, UN SDGs, BRSR, and other international ESG standards. She serves as an expert resource to the Bureau of Indian Standard BIS and Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI. And Institute of Company Secretaries of India, to name, is also a founder of Blue Sky Sustainable Business LLP. Blue Sky is an accredited independent inspection body for social impact by NABP, Quality Control of India, setting a benchmark for rigorous and transparent disclosures on social impact. With this, I would like to hand over this floor to Jyotsna ma'am. And ma'am, you can start with your presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Mansi. Thank you for the introduction, and I look forward to an interesting session this afternoon. Mansi, before I start, are we going to make this interactive? I mean, can people ask questions, or would that be difficult?
Ma'am, actually, the question and answer session is kept at the last of the meeting, means when presentation is done.
Oh, then only you'll open it up for questions and all that. Okay. Okay, so let me share. Mansi, can you find out from your controls what are basically the background of people who have joined? I mean, what profession would they be coming in from?
We have Jean Paul sir from DRC Congo.
Okay.
And, we have many more people.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, I'm Giampolo from Congo, DRC. I'm country coordinator of CNET Zero.
Hi, John Paul.
Yeah, hi.
Okay. So, yeah. So today's topic, John Paul, you've been working with Dr. Vanita for some time, no?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
So Congo is also, I heard that Congo is also becoming quite active on the ESG front, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so we start, Mansi?
Yes, we can start with the presentation.
Yeah, we can. So my intention today, this afternoon, is to share with you some of the new knowledge which is emerging in the space of business responsibility. Like Mansi introduced, I come from a business background, but I have always been working with organizations, businesses, that is for-profit organizations, who believe that they can contribute to this, to making this world a better place by being responsible about the business practices. Yeah. And when we talk about business practices, we're talking about environment and social responsibility. Majority of us in India would believe that when we talk about corporate social responsibility, we invariably think about just the philanthropy part of it, doing good for the world. We donate, we help people and all that stuff. But the same logic applies also to the organizations, for business organizations. Yeah. So we are talking about environment and social responsibility in the next 15 to 20 minutes that I have got here as a part of, as being a speaker. So we do believe that environment and social responsibility, like environment responsibility and social responsibility, are actually connected, and they're the two faces of the same coin. The heads and the tails, what we talk about. The heads could be environment and the tails could be social responsibility, but they're also, what I'm trying to stress here is that they're both a part of the same coin, two faces. Yeah. And when we are talking about responsible business practices, it is extremely important to acknowledge that there is environment and social which are linked together. One can't happen without the other. Yeah. And that's going to be that will be the focus of my discussion today for the next 15-20 minutes. Yeah. So I refer to the fact that in India, we consider corporate social responsibility as what we call CSR, as philanthropic. Yeah. That is something that we set up charitable trusts, and many of us would, donate money for a social cause, whether it is the Wayanad landslide or whether it's the floods in Assam. There is a lot of us are ready to give money, and we think corporate social responsibility, CSR, is something that we do individually out of the goodness of our heart. While that holds true, the larger proportion of the responsibility also belongs to the business organizations who are for-profit organizations. They have to incorporate the way of working in such a way that the impact of the business does not harm the environment or social. So that's the first point I wanted to make, that it's not only an individual responsibility, yes, very important, but it is also the corporate responsibility to ensure that the type of practices the business does, it does not harm the environment and social. The second point I wanted to make is that while environment is very numerical and social is very qualitative or slightly ambiguous or, has different perspectives, they are very interrelated. So if you harm the environment, okay, you are absolutely, the harm of the environmental degradation affects the society. Yeah. And by the same logic, if the society is not mature or not educated or is, has issues, it will definitely harm the environment, because the type of decisions that they take, whether it is throwing a biscuit wrapper or planting a monoculture or cutting trees or, making roads in forests, those, if a society is not responsible to take the right type of decisions, it will affect the environment very badly. So these are deeply related issues, environment and social responsibility. Environment and social are deeply related and influence each other. Okay. So these are the 2 points, the cornerstones of the discussion that we are going to have, that it's the business owes the world, the environment, its environment and social responsibility beyond an individual responsibility, and that environment and social are deeply related to each other. You can't have one without the other. Yeah. So I have got a few slides. I'm just going to, yeah. So like I was talking about, everybody loves CSR, I mean, you'll see a lot of people talking about the funds that they have given for charities, And everybody likes to do a good thing, and they feel that as long as they can give money, they are being responsible organization, responsible people. As long as they can give money, they say, I love CSR. In fact, I've seen so many people wear T-shirts which say, I love CSR and all. But CSR is not only about giving money. Yeah. And corporate social responsibility or social responsibility has to become an integral part of the way an organization works. Yeah. So it is an integral, corporate social responsibility has to be an integral part of the company strategy. And it is once it internalizes within an organization, only then will it be an important driver for trust and reputation. I think in this world of where we are drowning in excessive data, in some ways we have also become very mature in understanding what is just, PR or, just lip service, and what is truly, genuinely commitment for change. Yeah. So if it's only when a social responsibility becomes an integral part of an organization that it actually drives trust and reputation. And it must be managed consciously. This thing about CSR, this thing about policies, this thing about vision and mission of a particular organization on corporate social responsibility has to be managed consciously within an organization. Yeah. And so now what happens is that there are many social responsibility in many ways becomes extremely ambiguous, in the sense what's good for me might be bad for you. Like, for example, some cultures might have issue of like allowing children of 14 years to work, whereas some organizations, some countries might say a child is, we only consider a young adult after 18 years. So there's so many different perspectives, and hence it is extremely subjective when you're talking about social responsibility. Sometimes it can get very challenging because it can be very, very subjective. What's good for me could be bad for you. What's bad for you could be very good for me. So things like that. So what happened was that over the years, since it was very difficult for people to agree on the common good, there was an emergence of a standard called ISO 26000, which is the guidance standard for social responsibility. And remember, it's a guidance standard. It's not a certifiable standard. So it recommends you to do a few things, but does not require you to do it. It recommends, suggests, and expects you to identify how you can put it. So now this ISO 26000 identified 7 core subjects. And it'll be important for you to see that environment is one of the subjects around which an organization can actually plan its responsible business practices. Yeah. So one of the foundations of a responsible business is what we call the organizational governance. What is it that the leaders of the organization, what is their vision? What is their mission? How do they guide it? What are the policies? What are the procedures that they're implementing the policies on any issue? It could be environment, it could be social, it could be marketing, it could be product, it could be finance. What is the policy? What is the culture of the organization for implementing all these things? Yeah. So the core aspect of any social or environmental initiative, if you want to know if they're being environmentally responsible or if they're being socially responsible, you must go and check out the organization's governance. What are the type of policies they have? What is the leadership thing? What are they committing for? Yeah, so that's the foundation of any organization which wants to be responsible. Apart from that, we have what we call 6 core subjects, which is human rights. It's extremely important. Labor practices, like how do you treat your workers? Labor practices is your internal. How do you treat your employees? How do you treat your subcontractors? How do you treat the workers in the a factory? Then the environment, of course, most important, because like I told you, if you're producing something, if you're generating funds out of killing the environment, your business cannot be resilient, nor can it last for a long time. Fair operating practices is all about corruption, anti-bribery. Again, see, it is very connected to the governance of the organization. What does your management say? How does your management deal with bribery? How does your management deal with corruption? Yeah. And, especially in developing countries like ours, this is a huge issue we need to tackle in order to be a responsible business. And then consumer issues. Consumer issues are extremely important because especially if you're in the service industry or you're in the manufacturing, what is it that you're selling to your consumer? Is it socially responsible? Is it ethically okay? Whether it is cigarettes or Coca-Cola with too much of sugar or, whatever it is, whether, what is the consumer issues that you're addressing, yeah, because of your product. And last but not the least is community involvement and development. In India, we tend to think of community involvement and development as a social issue. Yeah, we basically, again, like my previous slide, CSR is all about community involvement and development. But what I would like to underline is that it is one of the many things. The other being environment, labor practices, human rights, consumer issues, and fair operating system. Community involvement and development can't be working in a silo. It cannot work just by itself, It has to be, it influences all the other issues as well as is influenced by the other issues. So this is what I was, in the previous thing I was talking about the culture of the organization. Yeah. How does this whole thing about being responsible, running a responsible business basically is something that percolates from the top. It is top down and not bottom up. Yeah. So it has to be the vision of the organization which percolates down. And so it basically starts from the board, gets to, it becomes the deliverable of the CEO. The CEO has to pass on his vision, mission, commitments, culture to the senior management and and then it goes to the middle management and employees. And another very important point that we have to see is that when we are talking about environmental and social responsibility of an organization, it is not only the responsibility of one sustainability officer or a CSR officer. It is shared amongst all, which is, all the different organizations, all the different functions in an organization contribute to responsible business, contribute to environmental responsibility and social responsibility. For example, marketing and sales. Yeah, in terms of what are you marketing? Are you using ethical standards for marketing your products? Yeah. Affects the social responsibility, is a part of your social responsibility. Are you lying? Are you exaggerating when you're trying to sell a product? Has huge influences on your social responsibility. Everybody must be hearing about this greenwashing, when you're claiming to be very environmentally responsible, while, well, honestly, you're not really being very responsible on that. For example, there's some organizations which are saying that we are using responsible packaging, responsible packaging, cardboard packaging. But in the process, the deforestation because of the pulp requirement is huge. So at one level, you're claiming to be responsible because you're using paper packaging, but on the other hand, you're really, using huge amount of this huge amount of deforestation happening because of that particular product. The point to make, like, people are nowadays thinking that, the organizations which are marketing tissues and napkins and say, oh, it's very responsible, your hygiene is being maintained and all, but in the process, a huge amount of deforestation is also taking. So they're marketing wrong concepts. Yeah. So that's where organizations, the marketing and the sales have to understand business responsibility before they, to take responsible, ethical choices. Supply chain sourcing and procurement. Where are you procuring it from? Are there child labor in the supply chain? Is there harassment issues? Are women being paid equally? All these become the responsibility of the supply chain sourcing and procurement department. Human resources and people management, how are you, is it equal opportunities? How are you training people to reach the potential? And, what are your terms of employment? Are there leaves being given? Are all again a part of the social responsibility. Operations has got a huge influence on the environment. What is the type of energy you're using? How are you disposing of your waste? What are the safety measures that you're taking? Are both environment and social implications. And of course, public relations and communications becomes extremely important. It's a governance issue. How do you say, what are you talking? What are you telling the world about your work? So this is very important, public relations and communication, in order to be transparent and accountable in your level of communication. Yeah. So, I mean, I just like this thing, like this is exactly what we see where most of the time, yeah, is, can you read this? Which basically says that this forms part of a corporate social responsibility. So they're talking about paper, plastic, and glass. They're saying, oh, put your paper here, put your plastic here and all that. But they are polluting the environment like nobody's business at the back. Yeah. So we have to show what we have to demonstrate our true intentions by taking correct decisions. Don't you find this very familiar? With the way most of the people practice business responsibility. Visibly, they'll put all these baskets, but at the back end, there'll be a huge amount of pollution that will be happening. So I brought this slide in to say that, are you too busy to innovate? Because business responsibility, especially in 2024 and the coming years, will require you to think a bit differently. Yeah, and that brings in the whole issue of innovation. You have to think of different solutions. You cannot continue to do the same thing that we have been doing for the last 50, 100 years. So business, running a responsible business, which is responsible on the environment and the social front, will require you to innovate. You have to, and what is innovation? Innovation is looking at a problem in a very different way, not the way that you have been doing all this time. So I've used the word non-financial reporting, so just to introduce why I brought this non-financial reporting is that it is not only enough to be socially responsible or environmentally responsible. There is a huge universal requirement that you report on your journey, report on your commitments, report on the journey as to what are all the commitments that you're making to see that there is a change happening over the next few years. This is extremely important because it should demonstrates that you're accountable and you're not just talking about wanting to be a responsible organization, but you're accountable. You're charting your journey on being environmental and socially responsible. And over the last few years, over the last 10 years, this non-financial reporting, which is your reporting, which is something other than the financial reporting, which is about reporting on your environmental, social, and governance goals, has become extremely important because a lot of investors are wanting to invest in organizations which they feel are responsible and might be resilient in the coming years. Their business, because of the fact that it is responsible, the investors feel that, oh, you know what, this company will survive the next 20, 30 years. And so a lot of investor focus is happening on these, on reporting on environmental and social responsibility. So this is a slide which sort of shows you that there are different standards promoted by different audiences. Like the investors are interested in, the investor focus is the standards brought out by SASB, Dow Jones Sustainability Index, integrated reporting. Yeah. Whereas the broader audience, that is the governments, the public, the like ISO 26000 and all, are basically something which the governments are trying to promote and saying, how do you do it? In India, the BRSR would be something which you would put in the above thing, the broader audience, the public, the investors also, of course, are very, very interested in your BRSR report. And a BRSR report over the next 3 to 5 years will become a literally, what do you call it? Benchmark for identifying resilient and healthy organizations. Here, if you really see, you know, the perspective, if you look at the perspectives, this is very, very, you know, prescriptive. Like if you say this, if you look at SASB, Dow Jones and all, Dow Jones will rate your organization on a very, very prescribed, very, very clear benchmark. You know, they'll say, whereas if you look at Global Compact, ISO 26000, they are more on recommending and, you know, identifying what is relevant and significant to you in order to rate it. So it's much more flexible. Depending upon the maturity of your organization, you can talk about what you want to do. But if you want to adapt to SASB and Dow Jones and all, you will have to adapt to what they are asking for. So it's very prescriptive. Typically, you know, the more broad the topics, the more flexible you will require to be. Yeah, more broad, more flexible. So these are all where, you know, you can apply across globally. These are standards which can apply globally across the countries without being prescriptive that in my country, we do this only. Whereas these type of standards, if you see, are very, very prescriptive. Yeah. So the thing is, why are you making this non-financial reporting? And when I'm talking about non-financial reporting, I'm talking about reporting on environment and making the non-financial this thing. And who is the audience? What needs to be reported? So one of the reasons why you're making a non-financial reporting is to achieve as a result enhanced reputation, ensuring investors. You're also making this non-financial this thing because it's mandated, yeah, because that's what BRSR is all about. Winning new business, especially international businesses, is expected out of you to talk about your environmental and social responsibility and improving stock prices. I mean, if the market understands that this is a resilient business, it will continue to survive through the ups and downs. You know, your non-financial reporting becomes extremely important. So stakeholder, who is the audience? Why would you make a non-financial reporting? Why would you report on your environment and social responsibility? Because there are so many people who are looking into your organization, yeah, who have various different requirements. Now, let's suppose a mining company, which is mining a new area, would have huge amount of community pushbacks, whereas an organization which is making, let's say, lithium batteries, yeah, you know, the EV manufacturers would have, the manufacturing community would have different expectations of you as compared to the community from where you are mining, yeah. So a non-financial reporting where you're talking about environmental and social responsibility in a language which is understood and which is understood by the public will really, help you get across to different stakeholders. Yeah, might be the example. Consider we just talked about this thing. ISO 26000 introduces the principle of social responsibility on the respect for stakeholders' interests. This is a very important part of this entire responsibility discussion, that it's not what I think it's important, it's what I do these activities to respect the stakeholders' interests. And there might be many stakeholders in any business decision. It is, you know, it is important for us to identify who is the main stakeholder and basically plan our environmental and social initiatives in respect for the expectation of that stakeholder. Yeah. Again, maybe Mansi can take up another session on stakeholders, because stakeholder expectation is one of the most important points that you might have to understand for anything to do with business responsibility. Okay, so who's the audience? the stakeholder is the most important audience, and what needs to be reported. So there is, this is a wrong concept. People believe that they have to talk about net zero, they have to talk about carbon footprint, they have to talk about human rights, and of course you have to talk to it, but your commitment should be based on the materiality of the issue. And materiality very simply means whatever is relevant and significant for your organization. Now, all organizations are at different levels of maturity. So, you know, a small organization like ours, we would definitely want to be energy efficient, but we will not be able to invest for a 5 megawatt solar park. But we can definitely invest in better lights and switching off lights and all. So each one can contribute, each individual, each organization, big or small, can contribute to an environment and social responsibility, but it is important to identify what is relevant and significant for us, what can we make a change on. Yeah. So according to ISO 26000, an organization should review all the core subjects to identify which issues are. Identification of relevant issues should be followed by an assessment of the significance of the organization's impact. Yeah. Yeah, so this is the same thing that I was saying. Even in the same industry, companies tend to report differently. May report on emission at an aggregate level, while its peer may report it on a vehicle level. So this is important to, both are right, as long as it is very, very transparent, saying that this is what I do. And non-financial reporting should report what's been done to date and the goals, target, and vision, whether they be short, medium, or long. So there is a tendency to say we want to be a very responsible company. It's not the right way to do it. You should be more specific on the target. It might take you 2 years, it might take you 5 years, it might take you 10 years, but that's okay. As long as you are being committed and you have a clarity on what you are going to do to get to that point. Yeah. So this is very important when you're talking about reporting on your environmental and your social responsibility. Yeah, and greenwashing is again a very important aspect that is becoming more and more, coming more and more into the picture about, it becomes a very important aspect of how you're going to report on your environmental and social responsibility. Greenwashing is, in a very simple term, if I have to explain it to you, greenwashing is exaggerating the truth. For all of you who are on LinkedIn, please do get in touch with me on LinkedIn. We have a beautiful article on greenwashing, brownwashing, pinkwashing. There are many, many colors that are being used in the sustainability world. Do look at that article. You'll get more dimensions on greenwashing. And here we have got an example about, the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, one of the very, very prominent sustainability organization, crowned Volkswagen as the most sustainable car company. Okay. But this, what do you call, was a big lie. It scored perfect on codes of conduct, compliance, anti-corruption as well. And then you know what happened. 10 days later, what turned out to be the company's profound lack of all the above by the end of the month, he had stepped down. You know what had happened? No, they had cheated on the emission data that had been done. They had, cheated on the machines which were measuring the emission, and they had lied about how good the company was. So basically, Volkswagen failed on everything because very inherently its board, its leadership was not honest or ethical about it. And that is why when you're talking about reporting on environmental and social social responsibility, it is extremely important to be truthful and ethical about what you want to report, and not paint yourself as one of the best organizations, whereas in the back end, there is a lot of unethical activities happening. In India, we are in the throes of change when it comes to environment and social responsibility. There is a lot of changes that are happening. You must be knowing that BRSR has become mandatory. This is the first year when 1,000 organizations are going to bring out their social responsibility reports in the public domain, which will be, very, very interesting to look at. Social stock exchange is becoming a reality, which, a social stock, anybody listed on a social stock exchange has to put in the public domain a social impact report every 6 months. Yeah, that means the social impact is going to become, you can't lie in a public domain. You lie at a great risk. So we're going to see social impact becoming more and more important in the coming days. Yeah. And that's it from me in terms of what I wanted to talk about, how, social and environmental things are connected to each other, and how, you need to sort of look at both these aspects when you're looking to build a resilient business. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for your insightful words. And with this, we will start with the question and answer session. So participants can start asking questions one by one. They can unmute themselves and start asking question. Yes.
Hi, Jyotsna ji. Thank you so much for the
Hi.
wonderful session. I'm Chinmay Hamani from Gujarat, Rajkot. I'm a climate change consultant, and I'm pretty much interested in the area of environment, social governance, ESG. So, could you guide as to how do we start? Because as a consultant, I see a lot of cross connections between sustainability and the climate change area that I've been working on. The ESG where corporates have their responsibility. So, can you guess to what would be the starting point? Would there be some provisions, or would there be some arrangements where consultants can also be, got into this place?
So, Chinmay, if you look at, I was reading an article recently, and I think one of the most advertised post is for an environment manager in one of the most, advertised job positions are what you call the environment managers and all. But what I would like to say, I don't know whether I'm directly responding to your question or it could be a longer answer. But environment and social are related and both influence each other. So for an organization which is responsible, which wants to, be responsible in its business practices, will sort of need both. So, like the consultants that we're talking about, we have learned, we are something like that, Chinmay, in the sense we are not only talking about social, but we're also talking about environmental numbers. Yeah, both need to be brought into an organization. If you only get an environmental aspect of it, it is not a 360-degree perspective. You will need to be extending a little more on social and environment for you to be relevant to the organization. So if as consultants, I think we both the aspects need to be brought in to the business's notice. Did I answer your question?
So yes, but I just wanted to understand that are there any organizations who hire consultants who have this sort of a similar background, who would want consultants to do part of the work that they are doing, and where we could
lots of them, Chinmay, lots of them. Like if you really see, lots of consulting, ESG consulting is one of the hottest topics now.
So could you direct us to some of them, or that would be more useful to, even as a starting point, or to look into those organizations?
So I think any of the big fours are hiring in a very big way, whether it's the PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, EY. But apart from that, also, if you can go into the LinkedIn and say ESG consulting, you'll find a lot of organizations, single consultants who are collaborating with all different type of talents. And so to answer you directly, I think you should go into LinkedIn and see, search on ESG consultants, and you'll see so many profiles and sort of link up with them and see where your talents can add value.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, anyone else? Mansi ma'am or Prachi ma'am, are you having any questions?
No, ma'am.
Still, anybody wants to ask any question?
So would we get the email of Madam, like Jyoti ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We'll share on the website, on the mail. Personally, we will mail you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
And if you want to connect to me on LinkedIn, my name is Jyotsna Beliappa, and the name of my organization is Blue Sky Sustainable Business. So you could even search for Blue Sky, or you could search for my name.
So with this, we will conclude. And before we conclude, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed guest for their invaluable insights, expertise, and time. Ma'am, your contributions have truly enriched our discussion and enhanced our overall experience for all the members. With this, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to request to confirm if any of our members would like to host the next monthly meeting. They can kindly email us in advance. And to be a GWNN member, kindly visit our website and register from our website and become a registered GWNN member. And our next meeting will be conducted in the month of September. Dates will be announced and emailed as sooner. Once again, thank you for all the members for your time and dedication. See you in the next meeting.
I have already sent the mail. Can you confirm that?
Yes, ma'am. I'll just confirm. Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mansi. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again. With this, I conclude the end of the meeting.
Thank you.